Welcome back, True Seeker. Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. In the headlines, longtime actor Robert Redford, dead at 89. I'm sure a lot of women in his age group are quite sad today. Robert Redford was one of those most handsome of all time actors that a lot of ladies had a little thing for, my mother included. And also in the news, if you've been watching Fox News, this has been the theme since the Charlie Kirk news broke. But everybody and their mother who's come on that station, it's probably been. I've I've watched it a tiny bit since Charlie Kirk died, and I probably heard we're going to get the death penalty probably at least 1,000 times. It's probably been said 1,000,000 since he died on Fox News. But yeah, that's the big story today. They're pushing for the death penalty in the Charlie Kirk assassin, the 22-year-old. And again, I just want people to realize that, most of you guys who pretend to be Christian, you think you're Christian, you're not, and realize the death penalty is not Christian, okay? But what do you mean? Jesus was crucified with the Roman form of capital punishment. Okay, the death penalty is part of the Christian story, but it's not supposed to be a Christian ideal. And you have a lot of supposed Christians preaching death penalty right now, just like Charlie Kirk wasn't a Christian. He might have claimed Jesus, but he wasn't a Christian. Mormons, they claim to be about Jesus. They're not really Christians either, and this did happen in Mormon land. Again, there's a lot of people who think they're Christians, but that's only because they've never read their book, and they are falsely believing there's something they're not. Almost everything that Charlie Kirk advocated for wasn't Christian. Jesus, he accepted people for who they are. He didn't teach people to judge other people. He wasn't all about money and wealth and politics and nationalism. He was pretty much the opposite of all those things if you've read the Bible. Charlie Kirk was more like the opposite of Jesus, even though he claimed the name Jesus. There's a lot of people in the world like this. That guy that has the church down there in Texas that he didn't let anybody into after Houston flooded from Harvey. What's his name? Osteen. He almost all his sermons are making it seem like Jesus is about having money and wealth and manifesting wealth. Jesus didn't preach a whole lot about getting wealthy and making money. Again, a lot of fake Christians out there, a lot of people inspired by this stuff. And really, it's because it's a herd theory, right? It's like Charlie Kirk's bringing two different groups that exist that are massive out there and trying to exploit that and make his own wealth. And at Charlie Kirk's time of death, his net worth is $12 million. Not bad for a 31-year-old who essentially grifted off right-wing religious people. But yeah, again, the death penalty is also not Christian. And that's probably what Charlie Kirk would be advocating for too. So just to realize that, if you guys don't know, the death penalty is more Old Testament. It's more Jewish. And of course, Charlie Kirk, that's the big conspiracy theory now too, that Israel took him out. There's about 500 videos on YouTube saying Israel took him out. And it's funny, none of those are getting taken down anymore. It's funny, a decade ago, those would have got taken down. Not that they should. There shouldn't be any censorship. But my video got taken down. My video that just promoted unity and showed the ritual of what really was that actually happened. My video got taken down for hate speech. And then YouTube's definition of hate speech is doubting a mainstream narrative. It's like, wow, that is a real stretch from the word hate. Who knew that doubting the mainstream was hate? Anyway, I just want to make it clear that this is more Jewish. This is eye for an eye. This is straight out of the Old Testament. You killed him, so you'll be killed. Nowhere did Jesus preach turn the other cheek. And don't get it twisted. I was raised Lutheran. I left the church as a 12-year-old because none of the adults could answer any of my questions, and I was getting in trouble for asking questions. And it's just like today, you get in trouble with YouTube for asking questions. I questioned if the Charlie Kirk story was legitimate since he got loaded into an SUV. Didn't seem a very legitimate thing to do. Just like Trump on July 13th. That didn't seem very legitimate. By the way, YouTube, how come you didn't take down any of my work on Trump and the July 13th hoax? What in the hell? This is inconsistent. Anyway. Yeah, just want to be clear for all the Christians out there chanting death penalty, like all the ones on Fox News, the fake Christians. If you're one of them, you're also one of the fake Christians. But we'll get to the ritual. And we'll talk about a few more things, Charlie Kirk. Oh, by the way, I should mention, if you guys listen to Clyde Lewis, Ground Zero, nationally syndicated radio show, I've been on there a few times now. They're having me on again tonight. They want to talk about the Charlie Kirk assassination. They want to talk about what just happened in Minnesota at the Catholic school. They want to talk about what happened with the Ukrainian woman and just the greater assassination theme in the last couple of years. And don't forget, it was yours truly who told you the day that RFK Jr. filed his paperwork, April 5th, 2020, why it foreshadowed that there would be an assassination theme to come in the years ahead leading up to the election on November 5th, which is the day in history to remember the Jesuits trying to assassinate King James. So anyway, yeah, I will be on Ground Zero tonight with Clyde Lewis. Again, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. For you people on the East Coast, it's pretty late. That's 11 p.m. Pacific, or 11 p.m. Eastern to 1 a.m. Eastern. But yeah, that is tonight, Tuesday, September 16th. So anyway, we'll get more into this death penalty thing. We're going to talk about the death of Drake and Beyonce's producer, who was found dead on Tupac's death anniversary, which is Caesar Borgia's birthday, where white Jesus comes from, and why it matters that the news was saved for today, 38 days before Drake's birthday, while he's 38 years old. Of course, Tupac died on 38 date numerology. And of course, there's the unfinished book out there that will be finished at some point, 38 special, about all the hip-hop related killings in 38. Death is 38, kill is 44. Beyonce just turned 44. Drake's 38. Their producer's dead. We'll touch more on it. One of the biggest boxing events in history and also recent history, and maybe not so recent history. One of the biggest boxing events in a long time, really, took place Saturday night, also on Tupac's death anniversary. And of course, Tupac was shot after a Mike Tyson fight back in 96 on September 7th and supposedly died from complications due to it September 13th. And then they put out the album of him looking like Jesus on the cross when he died on white Jesus' birthday, Caesar Borgia, the son of the Pope. But the day after the fight, another very famous boxer is found dead at 46. And we've gone over this 46 death thing about a gazillion times. Genesis 46 is about sacrifice. And gematria, sacrifice equals 46, as does fighter. We'll come back and touch more on Ricky Hatton's death. But this is something I've educated about for over a decade. Big sports events often bring big-time deaths. And, you know, speaking of which, today's 38 days before the World Series begins. Robert Redford, known for a lot of movies. One of his big ones, The Natural, about a baseball star. I don't think it's an accident that he's dead 38 days before the start of the World Series. I also don't think it's dead that an accident that he's dead at 89, in light of one of his biggest movies being about Richard Nixon, who resigned on August 9th, 8/9, back in 74. We'll look at the way this syncs up with The Natural and All the President's Men, the film about Richard Nixon and Deep Throat and the resignation. There's probably a lot more to the Redford death, but I'll get you a start, and I'm sure you guys can leave some great comments and add to it. And then also, you know, MLK, his death had a lot to do with 38 in Memphis. His brother's death had a lot to do with 38 not long after. His mother's death eventually had a lot to do with the same number. I wrote a section about this in my last book, Number Games. Memphis, where MLK was killed. Trump's now deploying the National Guard there. And I just want you to see what's going on here, you guys. So he wrote this memo to deploy the military, essentially. I remember the U.S. isn't supposed to have standing armies unless it's wartime. But again, he wrote the memo yesterday, September 15th, a year to the day of the hoax on his golf course. Again, 15/9, like Donald Trump's 159, like the Secret Service was 159 years old last year that supposedly saved him. The same Secret Service that was created the day sorry, I got a text from Clyde Lewis. All right, hold on. He needs me to send him something here in a minute, but we'll do the stream and then I'll take care of it. Again, the Secret Service was created the day that Lincoln was shot in history. But yes, September 15th also leaves 107 days left in the year. So what a day to deploy the military. And about him deploying it to Memphis, where Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. Remember, the first time he deployed the National Guard anywhere was to L.A. earlier this year, and He deployed it on June 7th, 6-7, and King equals 67. And it was the first time in 33 years that the National Guard had been on the streets of LA, not since the Rodney King riots that came from the 3-3 beating by the LAPD, when LAPD equals 33, like police, like order, like secrecy, like federal, like masonry. National Guard's 137, the 33rd prime. With regards to the Masons, don't forget that MLK gave his last speech in Memphis at the Masonic Temple, the same place where they recently had the funeral for, oh, shoot. I forget the name of the young man who was supposedly beaten to death by police in Memphis not that long ago, but they had his funeral with the gold casket in the same place that MLK spoke at the night before his death. Anyway, take a look from Tennessee's birthday, June 1st. And keep in mind, Tennessee's the 16th state, right? It could be written 1/6 that day. The 16th state was established on the first day of the 6th month. But from Tennessee's birthday to Trump signing this was the 107th day of the state's age as well, Memphis, Tennessee. And keep in mind, MLK was shot on April 4th, right? 4-4 in Memphis. Shooting with the alphabetic orders 107 with numerology applied, it's 44. Don't forget, Trump is the 44th person to be U.S. president. Again, that's because Grover Cleveland messed up the count, and now Trump's going to mess up the count more because he's the second split-term president. The next person to be president will be the 46th person. Joe Biden was number 46, but the 45th person. So whoever's number's 48 will become the 46th person. Notice that from the day he deployed to the upcoming anniversary of MLK's assassination will be 201 days. If you're new here, I've talked about this a lot, the number 201 in MLK's assassination. Martin Luther King Jr. was not born with that name. He assumed the name after the Protestant Reformation leader. Martin Luther wrote the 95 Theses. The Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses. They were created 201 months later. The Jesuit Order 201. There's a long history with the Jesuits in 201. But MLK was killed on the 95th day of the leap year, and then the nation's first ever gun control legislation came October 22nd, 201 days later. And another thing that you could say about this is from the MLK assassination date, the last anniversary to this would be 164 days later, or a span of 165 days. Scottish Rite has the 165 connection and the 159 connection, right? The date can be written 15/9. Again, Freemasonry. Again, MLK's last speech at the Masonic Temple, the Jesuit Masonic Alliance. It's crazy how, I noticed with Google's new AI stuff, when you do web searches, how there's an AI thing at the top. A lot of the AI stuff, you can tell it's just total BS. It's just like the other day I was showing you, when you search for a legitimate New York Times headline that's a real headline that you can verify right from the New York Times website, what Google says, instead of bringing that up first, is their AI overview or whatever it says that there's no such thing. It's just an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. And then if you just look down right below it, it's like, oh, here's the New York Times page and the exact article I just did the web search for. And it's just like now, if you ask or you type in something about the history of the Jesuits and the Masons, and there's a lot of history there, you guys. Again, the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite is the Jesuit motto, Ad Merum Dei Gloriam. There is a lot of history of the rites for Freemasonry and who wrote them, and several of the rites for Freemasonry were written by Jesuit priests. Again, this stuff's documented fact, but now the Google AI wants to tell you that, oh, that's just all conspiracy theory. You guys, just this own nation's history. George Washington, the Freemason that DC's named after, known as the Masonic City. Do you really think it's just a coincidence that he became the first recognized president a few months after the first Jesuit university, Georgetown, was established? Not to mention Georgetown equals 57, like what age George Washington took office at. And remember, the Jesuits served the Roman Catholic Church in Rome. DC used to be known as Rome on the Potomac, and you can see how Rome has that number as well. But yeah, just you got to be careful with all these AI responses supposedly telling you what's what when it really is total BS, and you can tell it's programmed. It's just like when ChatGPT first came out, people were showing me that it was very favorable my work and really backing it up and saying, that this could change history. This could change the way things are taught at the university level. This could change a lot of things. Now, if you look up my work on ChatGPT, more than a year later, it just totally demonizes my work and tries to say that it's essentially just all coincidental and conspiracy nonsense. So all this stuff about AI, you can see how it's really being engineered and programmed just for more mind control and to keep the status quo intact. But anyway, again, if you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers of the English language based on the alphabetic order in reverse, and both orders with numerology applied. And I know sometimes when you say that to people, they just get like this deer in the headlights look, like, what does that even mean? And it's like, you just see right away, there's kind of like a low-level thinking in the average American. I mean, what could it possibly mean? Is there not an alphabetic order? If we're talking about letters into numbers, what could we possibly mean? Could it mean that A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4? A logical mind would ask that same question. Does that mean you just turn each letter into a number based on the order? But the average American, they couldn't even fathom that. You know what I mean? It's a really low-level connecting. Like, it's just so easy and simple to understand, but a lot of us right away like, oh, I have no, what? Alphabetic order, people. There's a reason there is one. There's a reason you learned that ABC song as a child. There's a reason you were in the classroom and it probably had A1, B2, C3 all around the rim of the room, like a lot of us had growing up. And if only, it's almost like we were being teased in a way. It was right there the whole time. But nobody connected the last dot for us, that these words, and it starts to make sense, because I always thought English was so goofy as a child. Why can a f be an F or a PH? Why do we have a C and a K, 2 letters that make almost the same sound? Why is this combination of letters make the same sound as this combination of letters or this singular letter? Like, what is this? What's the point of this? What is the point of it? Oh, you learn there's a numerical sequence to these words, and there's really a rhyme and a reason behind it, and a real system is here. Then it starts to make sense. That's why when I found this, I said, man, everything makes sense now. No wonder. People on the East Coast are like, why isn't Oregon spelled with a U at the end? Well, we all thought it was Oregon. Should have had a U there. Again, there's a reason. There's a reason that everything's spelled the way it is and told to sound the way it is and blah, blah, blah. It's this. But yeah, the 4 base ciphers. Again, I learned about this from the 1926 book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. Now, we've talked about all these numbers redundantly in Charlie Kirk's death. Turning Point was launched 131 days before Charlie Kirk's 19th birthday. And he ended up dying on 19-date numerology. That means it was launched in his 19th year of life. He was still 18, but once you turn 18, that's when you be in your 19th year of life. For anyone who struggles with that, it's really easy as well. When you're born, do you ever refer to your 0th year of life? Did you refer to your first year of life as your 0th year of life, or was that your first year of life? Then you turn 1, and then you begin your 2nd year of life, and then you turn 2, and you begin your 3rd year of life. Okay, so Charlie Kirk was in his 19th year of life. You might recall one of the headlines the day that Charlie Kirk died was that King Charles had met with his son for the first time in 19 months. I saw Charlie Sheen was in the news for a new documentary on Netflix that went to #1 instantly that day. A lot of Charlie going on. Then the next day, a big viral podcast, Joe Rogan and Charlie Sheen react to the Charlie Kirk assassination. And I actually took the time to listen to it. I hate to listen to Joe Rogan. But they spent the whole time talking about the JFK assassination. Remember what I told you? It was 63 days from the Superior General's birthday. And if you've never seen my work on Joe Rogan, who started out on news radio and has been a little puppet for the cabal ever since, it really all starts to come together. But anyway, yeah, Charlie Kirk did start his turning. Well, I don't think he started anything. I think he's the chosen puppet. But he's credited with being co-founding Turning Point on June 5th, 2012, 131 days for his birthday. Death penalty 131. Death penalties 50 and 58. So is Utah, where they're seeking the death penalty. Death penalties 193, the 44th prime number, like shooting, like execution, like kill, like the only day of the week, Wednesday, that he died on. The only day of the week that equals 44 is Wednesday. He died on a 44-date numerology, the kill date, the date we circled at the beginning of the month. It's funny how many people come through and they're like, where can I find some proof that you ever circled this date in advance? It's like probably about 100 times over the course of the last year. I mean, we've talked about all the kill dates over and over and over and over and over again from the beginning of the year. Not to mention I've been teaching about the kill date and wrote a book about it that's almost a decade old. So there's all kinds of places you could verify that we've been talking about the kill date since. And again, they're not hard to circle because it's all math. Again, next month it's October 9th. Then it's going to be November 8th. Then it's going to be December 7th. That's only for this year, though, because the date numerology is what determines the kill date. Next year, it'll be 1 day forward for all of those days. The following year in 2026, it'll be October 8th, November 7th, December 6th, etc. There's one day a month that has the kill date numerology. And again, the 4 base ciphers, kill equals 64, 44, and 28. There's one day a month where all of those date numerology paths exist in the date. But yeah, 193, the 44th prime. And about the 50 and 58, I just want to go over this too. Again, we talked about how Masonic the ritual was of the killing of Charlie Kirk, supposed killing, with the shot in the throat. Shout out to Gematria32, who put on his thinking cap and really took this to the next level. And a lot of this thought process here that I'm about to present is really his. He called into my Patreon yesterday morning and shared some of this information. But yeah, the 3 ruffians who killed Hiram Abiff, the master mason, one of the chief architects of Solomon's temple where masonry's secrets are. Think about the Mormons. They build some really nice temples, right? I mean, if you know anything about Mormonism, you probably know they got some fancy buildings. Some of the most extravagant buildings I ever saw as a kid were just the Mormon temples in the greater Portland area. I thought, wow, man, people must have some money to build buildings like this. Anyway, Hiram Abiff gets killed with a wound to his throat. Charlie Kirk shot in the throat, right? There's 3 ruffians that are responsible for the death of Hiram Abiff. Remember, they reported that they arrested 2 men, they let him go, and then they got the 3rd one, the 22-year-old, Mr. Robinson, the Tyler, like the Tyler guards the Masonic Lodge, like Tyler Fry arrested Luigi Mangione eating French fries at McDonald's not far from where Trump served them after Luigi Mangione assassinated the United Healthcare CEO and after writing things on his bullets just like this other Tyler. But again, what we pointed out with the Mangione thing is that was 47 days before Inauguration Day at the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel, the same building Trump was in 2016 when he won the election. That year, he sacrificed Prince, Purple Rain, 47 days before his birthday in the lead up to the big rig. But yeah, again, as we talked about, Charlie Kirk equals 105 like Masonry. Later that day, you had the shooting on the 105th Meridian in Colorado, not far from where his wife went to school at the Jesuit Regis University. I get annoyed too. People leave comments like, oh, my daughter went to Regis, so what are you saying? She's in on it too? It's just like, why do you guys go to these conclusions? Did I say everybody who went to Regis is in on it? Did I say every person who's Jesuit educated is in on it? What I'm pointing out is a lot of the people on the world stage, whether you're talking about Trump or Biden or Cuomo or Fauci or Newsom or a lot of these news anchors or other politicians, you look, they're Jesuit educated, and there's not that many Jesuit universities. It doesn't mean everybody who's Jesuit educated is in on it. But it does go to show that if you go to these schools, it looks like they select a lot of the people that they use on the world stage from going to those schools. Again, case in point, you guys, look at the world of professional athletics. If you've never paid attention before, look at the high schools that a lot of these athletes went to. It'll blow your mind how many went to Catholic and Jesuit schools. We're talking about near 50% of the world of professional sports. If you're some aspiring parent who wants their child in the league, you better get them in the Catholic Jesuit network. And maybe not, because then you might end up in the obituaries around draft time, like what happens to a lot of these parents too. But anyway, again, coming back to this thing in Utah, where they want the death penalty. Remember, the state is the country is 249 years old, and this shooting happened 249 days after the state's birthday. The 3 ruffians, this is the Masonic lore, 249. Think about that. Think about that. And just the word ruffians alone is 122 and 50, like satanic. They said Kirk was shot at 12:20 in Utah, where they want the death penalty. Have you ever heard of the Synagogue of Satan? Those who claim to be but are not. Revelation 3:7 through 9. Anyway. Just going on, Spencer Cox, the governor, a lot of people thought he gave a great speech. I thought it was horrendous. I mean, he essentially talked about limit yourself, be ignorant, just tune into the authorities, tune out the noise online. Online, just a cesspool of horribleness. It's like, I think the reality is that describes our government and our news media that's just doing nothing but lying to us each day and manipulating us. As he tells you, it took 33 hours. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, the shooting was at 12:20. By the way, Charlie Kirk was big against abortion. I just want to show you guys something about abortion, too. You know what day Roe versus Wade was decided, right? January 22nd, 122 days after Jane Roe's birthday. Abortion 122. And they overturned Roe versus Wade on modern Freemasonry's birthday, which is also John the Baptist's birthday, like baptisms and babies. That was right before the 50th anniversary. And don't forget, we had the memo leak from Scalia. Or no, was it Scalia? No, it wasn't. Scalia died by the numbers. God, what's his name? Oh, my God. It's going to annoy me. I can't think of his name right now. The memo leak, though, was May 2nd, which is the 122nd day of the year before it got overturned. There was all that focus on the memo leak. Hold on. It's going to drive me nuts. Members of Supreme Court. I can't believe I can't think of his name. It was... what in the world? Why is it not showing the active member that is weird that he's the one name that's not up there. Where's he at? Alito. Did I say Alito? Did I say Antonin Scalia or did I say Samuel Alito? It was Alito. But yeah, if you don't know, Roe versus Wade was decided on 122. Here, Jane Roe, date of birth. I'll just show you real quick. It was 122 days after her birthday. This is how our nation's been the whole time. And by the way, 22/9, it's a bit like 229, the 50th prime number. But yeah, look at this. September 22nd. Geez, I can't think right now. Was it 1972 that Roe versus Wade? 73, like sacrifice equals 73. I'm going to get to how the book that The Natural's based on is 73 years old, going with Redford's death. But yeah, January 22nd, 1973 was the day it was decided. And yeah, look at that. Boom. 122 days after her birthday. You guys, this is nothing unusual. This is what goes on with the Supreme Court every day. This is what goes on with your federal government every day. I had a guy leave a comment just minutes before I started this. He goes, I understand why Andrew Wilson and other people are skeptical of your work. Why? What do you understand? What's to be skeptical about? Like, literally, I don't understand. What's to be skeptical about? I'm showing this every single day. Andrew Wilson's a retard, literally. Can't open a pickle jar, doesn't know what tax brackets are, didn't know anything about his own Bible. I'd say anyone who's not skeptical of Andrew Wilson is a moron. What is literally to be skeptical about with this work? What are you guys skeptical of? You think, here, do a statistical analysis of how this stuff could be a coincidence. You get the memo leak for Alito on the 122nd day before they, and not to mention a million other little rituals in between and leading up to that I've covered over the years with abortion and 122. There's so many of these same things over the years. But yeah, I just bring it up because Charlie Kirk was real big on it. A lot of Christians would argue that abortion is satanic. And you know where the Church of Satan was founded, right? In San Francisco, 122 and 50, just like satanic, the city on the 122nd meridian. So this stuff, you guys, it's not an accident. It's not an accident. If you're skeptical of this, what you should really be skeptical of is your mind. Is your mind actually functioning? Is it functioning the way God intended? Or have you polluted your brain with whatever you're eating? Why is your mind not functioning as it should be? A healthy, functioning mind would not be skeptical of this work. And again, I understand a lot of people are skeptical of this work, but that's because this nation's full of really dumb, low-functioning retards. And I know a lot of people get butthurt about that word retard, but it has a meaning. It means stunted. Let me say another one. This nation is full of a lot of dumb, low-functioning, stunted people. It's 1,000% true. That's why they're still voting in rigged selections, watching rigged sports games, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, last night, Monday Night Football doubleheader, tribute to Super Bowl 37, where the Bucs beat the Raiders. Guess what Baker Mayfield's new record is on Monday Night Football, you guys? Baker Mayfield career record on Mondays, including playoffs, because they started having Monday games in the playoffs now. Check it out, you guys. Guess, Super Bowl 37, right? Oh, wow. Baker Mayfield last night, he got to 3-7 in the rematch of you had the Bucs winning one game and then the Raiders losing the next, right? And just for the record, too, Buccaneers is 37. And you see how it's 62 in reverse? This was all synced up with John Gruden, who's 62 years old. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 62. Again, they play at a field named after Raymond James Financial, which started in 62. And by the way, yesterday was 29 days after Gruden's birthday. He used to coach the Bucks and the Raiders. Like football is 29. What was the score of the second game? Was it 20-9, 29 points? Okay. I was a little bit annoyed at the first game, though. I thought it was going to go to overtime 20-20. And instead, the final score was 20-19. I knew that 20 would show up because it always does with the Texans. I shouldn't say always, but it shows up all the time. Texans 20. Anyway, again, you guys, you learn this knowledge. And remember, all the American sports are credited to who? Freemasons. Football, Walter Camp. He's also a Skull and Bones member, a society that identifies by a number. What are you skeptical of? I don't know. Somehow it could all just be a coincidence. No, it couldn't. No, it couldn't. If you think somehow all this is a coincidence every day, you're a moron. I'm sorry. Point blank, period. You're a moron. You're a moron. There's just nothing else to say. You're a moron. By the way, did I not tell you about Robinson in 106 and how it seemed like there's probably a theme here because how they connect everything? How they connect everything. Right now we're in the 106th season. Remember how the 106th season began? Just before kickoff, they announced that Armani's dead, and he launched the Armani brand in 75, which was during the 56th NFL season, and he died on his 56th day of his age, and then he's dead right before kickoff of the 106th season when their symbol's the eagle, and the Eagles go on to get their 106th win versus the NFC East at home, beating the Cowboys, and Armani's also 29-43 like football. I don't know. I'm a skeptic. I don't know. I mean, there's... But yeah, Robinson, they're going to pursue the death penalty for Robinson on the day leaving 106 days left in the year, right? They're going after him. He's going down. I bet there's more to this that I'm overlooking. I bet there's something to it I'm overlooking. There's always more to it. And again, just about, like I said, they arrested the 22-year-old on the 11th after 33 hours, reminding us of the 22nd of November when JFK was shot in Dealey Plaza, named after a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason in the time of Sagittarius, which is the hunter in astrology. Who was the guy who Charlie Kirk was talking to about mass shootings when he gets shot in the neck? Hunter 31, college 31, activist 31. Doesn't that seem way beyond coincidence? Doesn't that seem way beyond coincidence? I forgot to finish something about the three ruffians. Again, the three ruffians, the story of the three ruffians, where it fits in with Charlie Kirk and the three people arrested and the wound to the throat. Remember, throat equals 28, like manhunt, like kill. It was also 28 date numerology that it happened on September 10th. But yeah, Hiram Abiff is connected to Solomon's Temple, right? Solomon's Temple. Now, I've been talking about Solomon's Temple in September 11th for a long time because, again, what was the third building to fall that day? The Solomon Brothers building that was 47 stories tall, each floor 47,000 square feet when the Masons studied the 47th problem of Euclid. Here we are in the time of Trump number 47. But I've also been talking about Solomon's Temple in relation to Trump for several reasons, including Epstein's death, because Epstein died the weekend of Tisha B'Av, which was to remember the destruction of Solomon's Temple and Herod's Temple. And Solomon's Temple has this strong 58 connection. When Epstein died, it was 58 days after Trump's birthday. Trump is on the commemorative coin in Israel to raise money to build the third temple. If you don't know that, look it up. It's been out for almost a decade now. The third temple coin that has Trump and King Cyrus on one side and the third temple to come on the other. You can buy that to help raise money because Israel wants to eventually build the third temple. It's part of their prophecy. And by the way, the word prophecy is 106, so maybe there's something here with Robinson and the death penalty and prophecy and people being crucified and, you know, you got to think about how it's just like a detective has to get into the mind of the serial killer. Here's the Masonic Jesuit serial killer. You got to get in their mind and see how they put it all together. Anyway, Charlie Kirk's father helped build Trump Tower, the same one that Trump announced from for the 58th election that's 58 stories tall. And notice, Solomon's Temple equals 58, like Freemasonry, like Rosicrucian, like Secret Society, again, like Utah. Remember how many 58 rituals there were when Trump was going up to the 58th election? First, Vanity dies the day of the 58th Grammys, Prince's girlfriend. Then Prince dies right after on 421 or for you. Again, use the 21st letter. He had the song I Would Die For You, spelled with the number 4 and the letter U. He died on the Queen of England's birthday. Purple Rain's 58. Queen of England's 58. Prince died 201 days before the election was called for Trump, for the record. He had the song Black Donald Trump. The real King James, who was a Freemason, Freemasonry's 58, and a Rosicrucian, died at 58. Trump had his convention in Cleveland, foreshadowing of the split term, the next Grover Cleveland, Donald Trump. But again, Trump had his convention in Cleveland in LeBron Stadium right after he won on the real King James's birthday, June 19th. Remember, King James's son was King Charles, and those who fought for King Charles in the English Civil War were Cavaliers. London, England, for the record, also has the 58 connection. But yeah, this 58 thing, it's just huge, right? Utah's 58. Trump got 58% of the Electoral College this time in the 60th election. And remember, Donald Trump's 60, Charlie Kirk is 60. Kirk's dead 60 weeks and days after the Trump assassination hoax. Trump sacrificed his ex-wife again in a major 60 ritual, 60 weeks exactly into the first Jesuit Ignatian year. But yes, think about this. Think about how perfect all of this is, right? Solomon's Temple, Freemasonry, secret society, all of those secrets of Freemasonry within the temple, a structure. Solomon's Temple is supposed to be beautiful, adorned with gold. Think of Trump Tower. Trump's now 79, like the 79th element on the periodic table is gold. In 1979, the value of gold went 4 times, its biggest year ever in 79. You don't think they've been manipulating our currency by the numbers for a long time? Again, when gold goes up, all that's really happening is the dollar is going down. Gold stays steady. Gold doesn't change in value. It's the currency against it. So right now, gold's way up. That means the dollar's doing poorly while Trump is 79. You think that's Trump's decision? You think Trump's the mastermind of that? No, he's the puppet in the right place for the rituals. Just like we told you at the start of March Madness, there was no doubt Todd Golden was winning March Madness on 4-7 in Trump's golden era. Sure enough, Todd Golden of Florida, where Trump spends a lot of time, takes it all. And don't forget, Trump equals 47 and 88. Mar-a-Lago raid on 88. This time, Charlie Kirk's dead 88 days after Trump's birthday. Turning Point USA 88, the Republican Party 88, Masonic Ritual 88. But yeah, Charlie Kirk's father helped build this structure, okay? And no doubt this is how Charlie Kirk ended up getting picked. Again, the people we see on the world stage, they didn't get there by accident. They got chosen because they have some kind of connection. They got the right numbers. Their daddy was in the right place at the right time. Now it's all really starting to make sense. Charlie Kirk's father is connected to this structure where Trump's political legacy began. And again, Kirk was coming out about Trump and the Epstein files. And again, all of YouTube blaming Israel. It's because the Jesuits are so clever and they do all the right things with their puppets to keep people thinking the same thing and herd think. While everyone's blame Israel and they don't have a clue about what runs Israel, the Jesuits are laughing all the way to the bank. And it's easy, again, it's easy to see that Israel is a Catholic creation. It was created on 14/5 because there's 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament, just like there's 46 books and it's encoded in the language. In this nation, the first Catholic president, number 35, killed on I-35 at age 46. The whole war that just began, the latest war in Israel, it began on Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days for the Pope's birthday. Trump did a big 71 ritual at the start of his term this time, talking about hell to pay by the numbers. Again, it was all covered back then if you want to go back and look at it. But anyway, again, look at the numbers of Utah, right? The numbers of Utah overlapping with death penalty, overlapping with Charlie Kirk being born on the 14th, the 22-year-old shooter on the 253rd day of the year, which is the 22nd triangular number. The word father also 58. The Father and the Son of the Holy Father who died for your sins. Charlie Kirk, the supposed Christian who preached wealth, nationalism, divisiveness, demonized groups of people. Understand, you guys. I mean, I can understand where Charlie Kirk and people on his side are coming from with certain issues. I see the agendas too. I mean, again, 30 years ago when I was coming up as a young person, everybody and their mom didn't want to be gay. You know, it shows you how easily people are controlled by groups and by screens and authority. It shows you how easily people's minds are controlled and how they can even go against their own nature. Um, I do, but again, like a lot of people who don't think any of homosexuality is natural, I totally disagree with that because I think the true OGs of homosexuality, if you will, again, as a guy, a straight guy, thinking about having sex with another guy, it just seems impossible. I mean, my thing would never work. I could get raped in my asshole, but then I'd want to kill the person, and well, here's a movie that came out when I was a teenager. Do you guys remember the movie with what was the kid from what was the kid from American Pie? And then he was in Freddy Got Fingered. I think that movie has Tom Green in it. Tom Green was always had that weird humor where he was always giving his parents a hard time on MTV. Do you remember this movie, Freddy Got Fingered? I feel like after that movie, I feel like that movie was like somehow a major drop in the bucket. Because if you haven't seen Freddy Got Fingered, the kid from American Pie, I forget. He needs some kind of. I think it's like a cute female nurse actually in the movie, but I haven't seen the movie for like 20 some years when it came out. But again, he ends up at the doctor and she's got to inspect his butt and she sticks his finger up and he's like, oh, yeah. I think he realizes he likes the feeling of it. Anyway, I'd rather not. I'm good with the ladies. I'm good with the ladies, but I got my own sweet lady, so I shouldn't even say ladies anymore. I got one lady and she's all I need, sweet lady. And I got sweet girl too to look after. But anyway, I used to know this gay kid when I had my medical marijuana business, and he was always telling me, if you just try it, you'll want to do it again. I'm like, hey, I'm glad you're a great customer, but it's never going to happen. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, it's no doubt that the world is totally different than it was when I was growing up. I mean, you turn on a movie or a TV show, you're a lot more likely to see gay intimacy than any other kind of intimacy on the screen. Like I said, even just going to the mall, I see more young gay couples than I see straight couples, at least openly. The gay couples are very open, and that doesn't make me mad. I'm not like, oh God, that just ruined my day. What an abomination. I'm not doing that. I'm just thinking, I bet 30 years ago, they probably would have been with a guy or a girl. I bet they would have been with somebody else. Times have changed. Anyway, and you have to realize what it is. The authorities have been preaching population control for a long time. What do you think all this stuff is? Fentanyl, needless wars, teaching the young people to be gay. You can't see what it all is. It's all population control. It's all population control. By the way, the same numbers on every single one of these agendas. You see this one on remember? It's gone crazy since this, right? Since Caitlyn, since Bruce Jenner changed his gender. Anyway, you guys know right before the shooting happened at Sandy Hook, they took Bruce Jenner's name off the high school. He's from that town too. Do you guys know that? You should look that one up. It's kind of weird. It's like, why'd that happen right before the shooting happened? All right. But yeah, just again, all the little things. Hunter asking questions about mass shooting as Charlie Kirk gets shot with a hunting rifle. You know what I mean? And it's all 31, like his age of death, right before the 31st anniversary of the assault weapons ban. Again, all the parallels to JFK, who was killed in the time of the astrological sign that's known as the Hunter. Freedom. Charlie Kirk doesn't have to go around with college kids doing the same arguments every day right now. He's probably, never mind, I'm not going to make the comment. I'll get another video down for, how did they write it? Hold on. How did they write it when I got my video taken down for hate speech again? Let me see this real quick. Let me see this one more time. By the way, how do you guys like the morning hair shot here with sweet girl? Let me read this one more time. The Orwellian age we live in. Hi, Zachary Hubbard. It looks like let's have a real turning point, USA. Charlie Kirk assassination of September 10th, 2025 is a ritual. Didn't follow community guidelines. You guys, I've seen so many videos that are just so divisive on one side or the other that are up on YouTube with so many views. People literally calling Charlie Kirk a demon. People that swearing war and retaliation on the other side. These videos are all up with like millions of views. Like these people are like trying to start problems. I was trying to get everyone to calm down and see what really happened and how we're all getting played for fools again. To help keep our community safe, we removed it from YouTube. What we found. We think your content didn't follow our hate speech policy. Content that denies or minimizes a well-documented major violent event or the victimhood of such an event isn't allowed on YouTube. What the hell is that? So if I question the media, a well documented, like what did I point out that first of all, in that video that got taken down, I didn't even have an opinion on if it was real or not because like I said, I hadn't even seen the footage yet. But I said I did know. Actually, no, that was in my second video because I didn't even have that yet. I learned later that day he was loaded into an SUV. I mean, I hardly even questioned the thing in this video. Oh my God. No. But this is why I'm on channel 25. I'm literally on my 25th YouTube channel, you guys. I've been on it for a while now. That's because this channel doesn't get any views. They stopped deleting me. They just figured out how to make it so that no one finds my channel. And then somehow this video got views. It was about at 50K views when they took the video down. And what was annoying is they kept the video in processing status the whole time, which is something that normally ends about an hour after a live stream ends. But they kept it in processing the whole time so I couldn't download it. So I don't have this video backed up, which also seemed gimmicky. And then I'll tell you one other thing that was gimmicky too. The video got 30,000 views on day one, right? On my average day right now, which is terrible, I get about 5,000 views. And about 5,000 views on YouTube with a monetized channel, which they've hardly ever allowed me to be monetized, but they've allowed this channel to be monetized for most of its existence. That usually pays me about $40 in ad revenue, right? So you would think 30,000 would generate 6 times that. Maybe $240. Do you know how much it generated? It generated $80. So I thought that was weird too. I thought, if I can get $40 off 5,000, I should be able to get more than 80 off 30,000 views. So I think they oohed me on the payment, and then this is an even bigger ooh. But yeah, it does make me sick. Anyway, I'm also used to it. It's been going on the whole time. By the way, Hunter Kozak, right? Isn't it funny how his name has a triple overlap with conspiracy? Triple overlap with conspiracy. You guys think that's an accident? Hunter Kozak, conspiracy. It looks pretty conspiratorial to me. Hunter asking about mass shootings as he gets shot and supposedly dies at 31. The guy known for being an activist on college campuses. Okay. I went over this real quickly yesterday, but I did mention to you guys about how I thought they were going to do a tie-in with the NFL. And I understand, like one girl who's around here a lot, she left some comment about, Zach, when you spiral off into sports, it loses me every time, and it probably loses other people too. And she's been around a long time, and I left her a not a very nice comment, and she'll probably never post here again, even though I've seen her name around for years. But again, you guys, I'm not an asshole in person, but I can be an asshole online. And I do think people are mostly dumb. And I think that's a dumb comment coming from a person who's not that smart. And maybe that's not the nicest thing to do to somebody who's been around for years. But I mean, you got to call spades spades. And I was someone who always learned through tough love. I didn't have very nice parents growing up. It was, you did a good job. All right. You better not mess up next time. Better be even better. Better work your ass even harder. Like, anyway, so I feel like there's something to not being nice that makes you a stronger, better person, not some soft marshmallow person like most Americans are. And also, as a teacher, I was actually really nice to my students as a teacher because I mostly work with younger kids. But a lot of my best teachers, because now I worked with fifth graders, you guys. I'm different with fifth graders than I am with adults. But when I was older, a lot of the best teachers I had were kind of assholes. And I don't know. So anyway. I'm going to continue to talk about how it's all connected to sports, whether anyone can follow it or not, because it is. And people need to understand how it is, because then you see the greater picture, how it's just one giant mocking and always bringing history together. And again, I covered this yesterday, but I'm going to cover it one more time. Joe Burrow's supposed turf toe as he's replaced by Jake Browning. Number 9, Burrow goes out. Number 6, Jake Browning comes in, 9 and 6. I'm going to talk about how this is directly connected to the ritual of Charlie Kirk and everything else going on. So 9 and 6 is important because that's a big number in Cincinnati, and it's a big number with Freemasonry. And there's something called the Society of Cincinnati that most people don't know about, where the most prominent member is George Washington, going with Jake Browning, who has the surname of a gun manufacturer who went to the University of Washington, named after George Washington. And what is it? Is it Washington Huskies? Yeah, Washington Huskies is 222. What's George Washington's birthday, you guys? Is it February 22nd? I rest my case. I'm a skeptic. Anyway, Jake Browning's birthday is also 4/11, like assassin. But again, get a load of this. Prominent members of the Society of Cincinnati include William McKinley, who died on September 14th in history, the day that Burrow got hurt. And from the Society of Cincinnati's establishment to the ritual on September 14th was 124 days, going with it being the 124th anniversary of McKinley's assassination. And McKinley was shot on 9/6, like number 9 replaced number 6, like how Cincinnati's 96, and he was a member of the Society of Cincinnati. And again, look at these members of the Society of Cincinnati. Andrew Jackson. Who were the Bengals playing when this happened? Jacksonville, named after Andrew Jackson. Who else was in the Society of Cincinnati? William McKinley and Teddy Roosevelt. McKinley died and Teddy Roosevelt replaced him. And we've been talking about McKinley being the 25th president and being 2025, and how Teddy Roosevelt was the youngest VP nominee prior to J.D. Vance. And Teddy Roosevelt was shot in history in Milwaukee, where J.D. Vance was nominated, and also where Charlie Kirk spoke. And was I not talking about these things before the game happened this weekend? I sure was, if you were watching my videos. But yeah, JFK shot from 411 Elm Street. Browning's birthday is 4/11, which is also, for the record, it's the 101st day of the year. And you know what? Hold on. Israel assassination, April 11th. Am I tripping here? Hold on. What am I thinking of with Israel and somebody who died in April 11th? Israeli leader, April 11th. Damn. God, it's just creeping into my mind. I know there's something there, but I'm forgetting what it is. I'm going to come back to that later. There's something about Israel and a past assassination in April 11th, but it just crept into my mind. But yeah, it is also the 101st day of the year. Assassin is 101 and 15. And remember, Orem, Utah is also 101 and 115. And 38 and 43 like killing, and 38 like death. But okay, again, JFK shot from 411 Elm Street. Remember, this whole ritual happened 63 days before the Superior General's birthday. And Teddy Roosevelt is 63, and so is Buffalo. Remember, McKinley was shot in Buffalo, and he was replaced by Teddy Roosevelt. And when Trump had the assassination thing last year, the fireman who was killed worked for the Buffalo Fire Department, and he brought his uniform number 27 up on the stage. But yes, they're saying Burrow's out 3 months. So 3 months from September 14th is George Washington's death anniversary. And if he did come back on that day, he'd face the Baltimore Ravens, named after the Raven, a poem about death. They've done some crazy rituals with Edgar Allan Poe in the Ravens in recent history. For his 174th death anniversary, Mike Tomlin got his 174th career win over the Ravens. That's the coach of the Steelers. But anyway, look at who the last game Browning would likely face if Burrow comes back in 3 months. His last game would likely be on the kill date for December, Pearl Harbor Day. That's going to be the day that has the kill date numerology, just like September 10th did. And it's going to be in Buffalo. So, again, this is just, you guys, I've been educating about the same stuff over and over. News, sports, history, how they're constantly bringing these rituals together. Not to mention Browning, who got inserted in the game where Jacksonville got hurt. He got his first career win over Jacksonville. Andrew Jackson survived the assassination. By the way, if Burrow, the last game he misses is December 7th, that game in Buffalo, it's going to be 84 days later. Turf toe 84. Turf toe the other way is 105, like Pope Leo, like this ritual went down on Pope Leo's birthday on the 14th, when 105 is the 14th triangular number. Yeah, and again, for the person who left the comment about your daughter went to Regis, so what, is she in on it too? I mean, I hope your daughter is smarter than you are. That's all I got to say back. No, it doesn't mean your daughter's in on it. It's just a moronic thought. Again, does your daughter have the same birthday as Joe Biden? Is it exactly 42 weeks after her birthday, like Jesuit 42? You think this number's an accident with a Jesuit? Georgetown, their first university, is 42, like slavery. The Jesuits, the greatest purveyors of slavery in American history, according to who? According to Lincoln, who was assassinated on 14/4, like Jesuit order. Lincoln blamed the American Civil War on the Jesuits. Isn't it amazing how we go to the slave school for 13 years, pledging to 13 stripes? We don't even think about that. But then we don't learn about any of this stuff. I mean, you probably learned the Gettysburg Address 5,000 times, where he says 77 years ago, and they never told you about why he did it that way instead of saying 87 years ago. You had to get the 47 in there for the Masonic salute as they study the 47th problem of Euclid. But yeah, again, 42 weeks on the nose after a birthday, factors in with the gun and ammo targeting. And by the way, guys, I mean, they haven't overturned the Second Amendment, but they might as well have. Just all the infringements, how expensive guns and ammo are. Do you know how more expensive guns and ammo are than they were 30 years ago? 30 years ago, guns were cheap. Ammo was cheap. Ammo costs a fortune now. Better go pay out a mortgage if you want to shoot some rounds at the range. No, I mean, again, all of this stuff is just something else. And yeah, the Jesuits operate in 112 countries. The Charlie Kirk thing happened on the day leaving 112 days left in the year. His wife's maiden name is 112. Again, the Cubs, who won the 112th World Series, led by the bat of Anthony Rizzo, as well as Kyle Schwarber back then, who came back from his fake injury. Rizzo retired the same day, 44 days from the World Series. The shooting number, who was outspoken after the Parkland shooting, calling for gun control. Again, these are major rituals. If you watch my video and I present this and you come back and your thing is, well, my daughter went to Regis, so what? Is she in it too? No, retard. And I get tired of people like, Zach, you shouldn't say the word retard. It's not professional. Wearing a wife beater is not professional. You guys, my channel's not about being professional. My channel's about breaking programming. All you're regurgitating back to me is programming. You shouldn't say retard. Why not? When everybody's retarded. I speak facts. If everybody wasn't, I shouldn't say everybody, but if 90% of this nation wasn't a bunch of retards, I wouldn't say it. But they are. That's why they're eating all this shit. They're walking around like fat slobs. They're watching TV for information. They're regurgitating the bullshit that's fed to them every day. No, it's maddening. For the troll who keeps calling on the unknown number, I mean, get a life here. I'm going to flip over the phone. They're trying to be distracting. Oh, by the way, look at what day Charlie Kirk and his wife married. Again, it was 4 years and 4 months and 2 days for the assassination for another 4-4. But do you see how it was on 5-8? Do you see how it was on 5-8, you guys? I mean, do we need to go over it again? From Utah to death penalty to Solomon's Temple to the rest of it. You know what I mean? And it's pretty unusual for a guy to marry a woman 5 years older than her when they're a younger person. I mean, it's not unheard of, but it's pretty rare. It's usually the other way around. So might have been Charlie's handler here. And she didn't seem too broken up as she promoted more for Turning Point USA. She knows she's going to fill up the bank account off this one. Charlie's gone, but there's plenty of fish in the sea. By the way, I've seen a lot of just like YouTubers just like bawling their heads out over Charlie Kirk, even making videos up to the moment about it, just so emotional about it. I mean, did you see a tear in her eye over Charlie? Did they drop him off in the SUV? Don't take me down, YouTube, for questioning a well-documented mainstream event. That's what I'm going to cry over. But yeah, again, look at what's on his tent along with this satanic lightning bolt. Prove me wrong, right? 54, 72, 153, like Jesuit order. I got to move quick. I'm running late. I just realized. Drake and Beyonce, their producer dead on Tupac's death anniversary. He was found September 13th. The news breaks today, September 16th. Do you see how Tupac equals 16 and 29? They saved the news for today, the 16th, right? He was found dead on the 29th death anniversary of Tupac. Okay, follow? His name, Omen, 61 and 16, also like Tupac, 61 and 16. His birth name, Sidney Brown, 58, like Tupac Amaru Shakur. Again, September 13th is Caesar Borgia's birthday, the son of the Pope, where white Jesus comes from. Caesar Borgia, 58. Remember, Machiavelli wrote The Prince based on Caesar Borgia. After Tupac died, they put out the Machiavelli album with him on the cross like Jesus. And just for the record, the way they spelled Machiavelli, it had the 74. Tupac also has the 74 and 61 like Jesus, like cross. Remember, in sacred geometry, 61 is the number in the flower of life, which is related to God, the creator. But also, September 13th, 25 was a date with 47 numerology in the base ciphers. His name's also 47. And on the 4th of July this year, you had the death of a Tupac associate at age 47, supposedly self-deletion when the word SUICIDE equals 47. And that was 71 days before Tupac's death anniversary when Outlaws, the groupie, was in equals 71. Yeah, it's he died on the 106th day of his age, right? Black Lives Matter, I Can't Breathe, all 106. Guess what? Today's September 16th, the day leaving 106 days left in the year. And again, you think about shows like BET with 106 in Park. I just wrote it down here. But you know what else? You see how it's the 259th day of the year, leaving 106 days left in the year? Look at Black Lives Matter. 259 and 106. And I've said this many times, this organization is not ran by black people, right? It's ran more to exploit black people and make black people look bad, like the George Floyd riots and whatnot, the destruction of my hometown, Portland. Again, remember they smoked Portland out on the 106th day of the Black Lives Matter protest. But again, the motto, I can't breathe, is 106. There were horrible fires around Portland on the 106th day of the protest, and the air was all black. Get the joke? Black's 106. So, talked about the same thing in the death of the Tupac associate, and now here we are on the 106 days left in the year, and this news breaks, right? A black entertainer connected to Drake and Beyonce. Remember, Beyonce just turned 44 the day of, if you guys missed the ritual, the day of the NFL opener on Cowboy Carter's 44th birthday. Remember, we had a lightning delay at 4:44, like the Jay-Z album is 4:44. Lightning 44. Jalen Carter spit on a cowboy. Jalen Carter, whose birthday is 4/4, who went to Georgia, where Jimmy Carter was the president, who died last year 4 days after Beyonce's NFL Cowboy Carter performance. Georgia, the fourth state. He died 4 days later. Spit is 44. This thing was all a ritual sync with Beyonce and Jay-Z, who's in charge of music for the NFL. A lightning delay. Last night, the Chargers won the last game of the week and made the primetime record for home teams 4-4. The lightning bolt team won. And remember, when Dak lost to the Eagles in the opener, he didn't get any touchdowns, so he left the game with 213 touchdowns. The LA area code, they won the next game the next night over Kansas City in Brazil. Chargers got their 59th win over the Chiefs. The night before, the Eagles got their 59th win over the Cowboys. Rematch of the Super Bowl 59 teams. The winner won, the loser lost. Not exactly a rematch, but the first two games of the year, paying tribute to 59. Primetime teams 4-4 for the week. Lightning Bolts win in Vegas. Synced up with John Gruden, who had a primetime game 4 years ago with the Chargers and the Raiders. And got mad because they delayed the game in a stadium over lightning. He said, how are we delayed when we're playing in a stadium over lightning? This is stupid. Oh, by the way, that lightning delay at the Philadelphia game in what we call the 65 city was 65 minutes. Philadelphia established October 27th, the day leaving 65 days left in the year. A big 65 in the baseball series while that was going on too in the MLB. But yeah, anyway, the other thing is just 38 in death all the time. Look, it's 38 days before Drake's birthday. They released the news while he's 38 years old. I mean, are you kidding me? We've always talked about how Tupac died on 38. Date numerology, sort of Biggie. 1 million rappers have died in connection to 38. The movie Murder by Numbers with the 3 and the 8 in the title, Murder 38. Death, killing, RIP, all 38. Think about it. Too redundant. Again, Beyonce's 44, Kill 44, Drake's 38. That's the headline. Drake and Beyonce's producer. And by the way, I go back to my work earlier this year, or was that last year already, when Drake and Kendrick Lamar were beefing and they were doing all these rituals synced up with Tupac and his birthday, the supposed shooting at Drake's house. All of that was in tribute to Tupac back then too. So now this. Yeah, and just after a major boxing event, a dead famous boxer found the next day on Pope Leo the 14th's birthday while they do a gazillion 14 rituals in the NFL. Again, we always talk about this with death. Sacrifice 46, fighter 46. His career began in 97, the 25th prime. Remember, we talked about this with Charlie Kirk dying 97 days after the founding date of Turning Point USA, June 5th. Been a big pattern all year. So this guy started his boxing career in 97. Ricky Hatton, the name he went by fighting, has that triple overlap with Jesuit order. Robert Redford, dead at 89. One of his biggest movies, All the President's Men, about Nixon, who resigned on 8/9. Remember, the Nixon fallout began in 72. A lot of parallels with what's going on with Trump, which could end up in his fallout, possibly over Epstein. Epstein would have turned 72 on Inauguration Day this year. Epstein would have turned 72 January 20th, 2025. President Trump's 72 like Jesuit order, the man who went to Fordham, the 88 Jesuit University. But anyway, and by the way, Richard Nixon gave his resignation speech on 8/8 and then resigned the next day on 8/9 for another Trump parallel. This movie came out in 76. Like, Trump was the first Republican to get 76 million votes, and that was announced at the time of the Superior General's 76th birthday when Donald John Trump's 76. The movie's 2 hours and 18 minutes long. Trump has a 218 connection. It's a deeper one to explain. When he sends out his presidential alerts, they go out at 2:18 Eastern Standard Time. It's happened every time they've done it. Notice all the President's Men came out on 4/5, April 5th, or a date that can be written 5/4. And remember, that was the day that RFK Jr. filed his paperwork to run for office, 144 days from the Superior General's office, or Superior General's birthday. Like how his dad died at 1:44 a.m. and his father died 144 days from meeting the Pope on 7/2 when Jesuit orders 144 and 72. It's also 54, and his dad died at Ambassador Hotel, which equals 54, and Dealey Plaza equals 54. Robert Redford also equals 76 for the record. All the President's Men. Redford has died a span of 251 days from Nixon's death anniversary. That's the 54th prime number. Speak of the devil. Nixon was number 36. You see how resign equals 36 forwards and backwards? You see how Redford was born in 36? When Whitewater happened, Robert Redford was in his 36th year of life. Again, the Jesuit acronym IHS equals 36, like how Charlie Kirk's wife, who went to Regis, is 36 right now. And again, right here from Nixon's death anniversary to this ritual, again, the 251st day, 54th prime. Nixon resigned on August 9th, the day leaving 144 days left in the year. Keep in mind, that's Deion Sanders' birthday. His son fell to the 144th pick of the draft. If you don't know, Shadur Sanders was drafted 78 days after his own birthday before the Browns' 78th season. Cleveland 78, like Jesuit. Trump was 78 at the time as the nation's new Grover Cleveland. A lot of 70. Cleveland in 78 was red hot after Trump became president in sports, just crushing baseball everywhere. It pays to understand the way the games are rigged. Oh, yeah, resign also. Since Whitewater started in 72, resign is also 72. And Whitewater is, hold on. I'm getting confused. It's Watergate. Whitewater was Clinton. Watergate is 37. Gerald Ford became the 37th president because of Watergate. And there's a lot more to Gerald Ford and his installment as well by the numbers. And remember, that wasn't his birth name. It was like they changed it so they could have the popular bumper sticker. Buy a Ford, Nixon did. And that was a big-time bumper sticker back then. Yeah, and then again, Redford, another one of his huge movies is The Natural, and big baseball movie, and he just happens to be dead 38 days before the World Series and 73 years after the novel that the movie's based out came on. Notice Sacrifice is also 73, and so is Ritual Sacrifice. And sorry, guys, I was long-winded. But yeah, I'll look more into Redford's death because I bet there's a lot more to it. I mean, he has a long movie history. He died in Utah. You guys. Is Utah very front and center right now? Did the supposed Jesus guy, who really was more of the opposite of Jesus, but still goes down with this Jesus legacy, and this headline is a martyr, did he just die in Utah? And again, about 89 Gospels, or not, the Gospel's 89 chapters long. Gospel's 89 chapters long. Religion's 89. 89 is the 11th Fibonacci number. Jesus equals 11. Did you guys know the coldest day? What is the coldest recorded day in history? Did you guys know the coldest recorded day is July 21st, 1983? You know, the record temperature was negative 89 Celsius. I just find that interesting, too. They say when hell freezes over. It's interesting who was born that day. You guys know who was born that day? This guy right here. His name was Zachary Keefe Hubbard. I shouldn't say was. I mean, he's right here. He's yours truly. But anyway, and don't get it twisted. I'm not saying I'm Jesus. I'm just saying I love that. I love that fact. I find that to be the amazing organic side. My dad's name is also 89, which is wild. Timothy Stephen Hubbard is also 89. Shout out to my dad. And my mom's birthday is September 8th, which funny enough is the Virgin Mary's birthday, which can be written 8-9. But again, there is an organic side to this code for everybody. I hate to, like, Zach never talks about the organic side. I wrote 2 books, and both of them, the last chapter is about the organic side, because I think it's where this knowledge first came from. And then I think after it was observed that this might be the language of creator, people started to use it and play God over humanity. And that's what you see going on in the news every day, where it's a bunch of contrived BS that doesn't make any sense other than the numbers adding up for the rituals. So yeah, I'm running late, you guys. I got to leave it there for now. Shout out to Open Up with the Big Ten. He said, must be a coincidence Christian Kirk, number 13, is scheduled to make his season debut this Sunday when Charlie Kirk's funeral will be held. Kirk means church. Yeah, good one. Good one. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that. Crazy. And Turning Point USA was 13 years old at the time of this ritual. Crazy. All right, we're going to have to look into that one. And thank you, Smeed, for the big 2. Appreciate it. Shout out to Space Invader with the big 2. Utah changed their flag to a beehive last year, huh? All right. All right. Anyway, we'll leave it there for now, you guys. Thanks again, everyone who hits the like and the share. And until next time. Hold up. I see it. Christian Kirk 201. Man, we're going to look more into it. We're going to look more into it. Because here's another 201. Capital punishments 201. With this being the new chapter. Capital punishment 201. Remember, the Roman form of capital punishment, which is also in the Jesuit order's logo, is Triclavianism, which is also 201. And it's also 93, like crucifix. And science says Jesus' crucifixion date is April 3rd, the 93rd day of the year. And, you know, it can be written 4-3 like Jesus Christ 4-3, or it can be written 3-4 like Jesus is 34, and so is cross, and so is church. So, yeah, again, scientific manipulation is another thing by the code once you learn this knowledge. There's a lot of it. All right, True Seeker. Till next time.